On 5 August 2002, the night sky over a small city near Birmingham got completely covered by dark, dense, and monstrous clouds. The atmosphere felt like trying its best to seal something from the eyes of any living beings in that city. The desolation of streets felt like bearing a witness of the silence before the revelation of an unknown calamity. A man sitting on his desk on the 4th floor of his office discovered a down and dirty conspiracy against him. He realized the discovery of this conspiracy was a consequence of 2 betrayals. One betrayal was done to him by his fellow members of the organization, and another betrayal was done to him by himself. However, this shocked him to his very core. Without wasting any time, he got out of his office room. Like a dancing maniac, he created small vibrations throughout the entire staircase and reached down to the garage. With the face of a hunted prey, he felt like his blood pressure was rising, but by neglecting all odds, he got into his car, started the engine, pressed the accelerator, set out on a journey to his home. In the meantime, while he was driving towards his home, those dark, dense, and monstrous clouds started speaking by showering heavy rain on the surface. The sound of rain on the windshield and front door glasses was working as a catalyst to increase the unknown fear inside his mind. As time was passing, the sound of his heartbeat was becoming clearer, but a small sense of relief rushed inside his mind as soon as he caught a glance of his house. Despite the relief, something strange was happening. He felt like his eyes were just shutting down. His breath management became weak. His head was spinning. Lower body was becoming paralyzed. Then it was a matter of seconds when the unaltered rhythm of the rain was completely shattered by a devastating sound. The sound was a mix of loud crunching metals, a sharp high-pitched noise of breaking glasses, a strong screeching noise of the tires, and the continuous horn or alarm of a car. During the early 2000s, Jack and Helen, a happily married couple, were living in a small city near Birmingham with their 4 lovely children. To talk about their profession, Jack was a great banker and Helen was an incredible housewife. This family set various logical and religious rules and morals inside the household in order to build a sweet home with enriched, truthful experiences. By adopting them, they were living a pretty good life. There was also a wonderful artwork where a quote was written, and the quote was, "Your actions will forcefully present various divine fruits to you, various fruits in colors of red and blue. So be careful and considerate about your actions." However, from July 12, 2002, something strange started to happen. That night, Jack came home from work with a confused, pale face. Usually, after coming home, he always used to hug her wife and then get fresh. But that day, he didn't even talk to her wife, let alone give her a hug. What he did was just simply getting ready for taking a shower. From this awkward behavior of her husband, Helen got a bit tensed up and curious. Therefore, she asked, "Jack, is anything wrong? You are not looking well. Everything's okay in the office?" Jack avoided those questions by saying, "Serve the dinner on the table. I am really hungry." Then he went to take a shower. Helen thought her husband must be annoyed about something and didn't want to talk about it. So Helen gave him some private space and decided to talk to him about this topic tomorrow morning. The next morning, Helen woke up earlier and started making breakfast. After some time on the breakfast table, Helen asked Jack, "Honey, I know there's something wrong going on with you. What is it? You can share it with me. Even if you don't share the problem, at least reassure me that you have got this bad situation under your control, because you're acting strange." With a smile on his face, Jack said, "Don't worry, everything's gonna be fine." Helen immediately understood that the smile on Jack's face was fake, but she didn't push it and let him go. Helen was only hoping that her husband was not thinking of escaping the universal fate, especially the fate of an evil action without paying a certain price, because throughout her various life experiences, she witnessed that every evil person must pay a price even though they will be given mercy by God after their repentance. The price will be paid by the conscience of the human brain and the rational intelligence. This price will be wrapped up with a cloth of guilt and dissatisfaction. The mercy of Almighty God will help us to stop paying the price further and forever in our life. The mercy of God will liberate us from the continuous wrath of those reddish fruits. 2 weeks passed by after that day. Instead of becoming normal and healthy, things are getting more complicated and unhealthy. Helen is closely observing this downfall and negative change in her husband's actions in the household. But on 28 July 2002, when Jack got back home in the evening, he told Helen that he wasn't feeling that well. After saying this, Jack got into the shower. As soon as Jack got into the shower and Helen started to place her husband's nightdress on the bed, a horrid sound of someone falling on the floor stunned the entire bedroom. Helen rushed to the bathroom and saw Jack was lying on the floor, being senseless. After witnessing this sight, Helen's throat became completely dry. With a deep, flat voice, she called her eldest son. Her son rushed to her and then they brought Jack from the bathroom floor to the bed. Obviously, after that, a local doctor came, did some basic checkup and told Helen that this senselessness of Jack had happened because of overstress. After listening to this, Helen made up her mind to have a strict and genuine discussion with her husband about what's really going on. After 2.5 hours, the situation became normal and Jack was feeling somewhat good. Without wasting any more time, Helen asked her husband, "You are telling me what's going on with you right now. If you don't, I'm gonna bring our children in this difficult conversation because our children are concerned and tensed about their dad's physical and mental health. Your bad health is turning our happy family into full-time misery. So share with me what has happened to you." Now deep down in Jack's heart, he was a family guy, so he would not risk his family's interest. So Jack started saying, I messed up so badly. At the beginning of this year, when our bank was creating the annual plans and goals, the president of the bank changed some rules and policies. I knew the new policies were bad, so I opposed those policies. Then the president said that these policies are secretly declared by the government to follow in all the banks under this state of this country. After that, I could not say anything. As time passed by and the policies began to affect the bank, the customers of the bank were becoming miserable, especially the middle class society. I warned our bank president multiple times, but he ignored them. Then from the month of July, complaints from our customers started to come. But on 12th July, a woman with her 5-year-old boy barged into the bank crying and yelling about who is the manager of the bank. The manager wasn't present, and I was the highest ranking officer present at that time in the office. She rushed towards me and grabbed me by my collar and said, "You killed my husband. You did. Give me back my husband. For scums like you, my husband died." Before she could add anything more, she was dragged outside by the security. Later, I learned that her husband was a customer of this bank who lost a lot of money because of the new rules and policies. Not being able to control his pain and suffering, her husband committed suicide. After that, many cases about the suffering of our bank customers started to spread. From those moments, I am repenting for the sins. I am ashamed of being a part of a perspective of falsehood. But things are still a big mess. I don't know what to do. Helen said, "We both talked about before that no human gets away with anything. Those people who commit evil deeds are going to pay a certain price, and those people who commit good deeds are going to be rewarded. Even though you are repenting to God and God is going to listen to your prayer and will give you mercy and blessings. But for your evil deeds, you will pay something from your human morality and rationality. So from the moment of doing the evil deeds until a certain moment of your heart's assurance of God's mercy, you are going to feel misery, pain and fear. I am always cautious about this because I have seen how my mom cheated on her man and then got separated. At first, it was her arrogance that helped her go through that divorce, but then the height of losing that incredible man of hers was so huge that she understood the depth of her evil act, which was the betrayal to her husband. Eventually, after paying the price with a huge loss, she was able to highly reduce her pain and misery through the mercy of God. Besides, she was able to learn from her mistakes through the fear of that huge loss, because to avoid the act of doing the same mistakes again, we all should fear the act of doing those same mistakes again. This understanding upgraded her reality of evil to good morals and ideals. Jack totally agreed with Helen and told her, I know, from the moment I heard the scream of that woman and witnessed the misery of those people, I have been trying to make everything the way it was. Even though I have taken some actions, it's hard to bluff the eyes of the main culprits. Because since last week they have been giving me sort of a side eye. Helen said, You mean they noticed something? Did you talk to your attorney about this? Jack replied, Yes, he is analyzing various outcomes and told me to keep my guard on whenever I am dealing with those culprits. Helen said, Okay, be very careful of what you do. Now, take some rest. Doctor said you need that. Jack said, I can't. I have to go back to the office in disguise to acquire some important and secret paperwork. So I am leaving now. Without finding any other way, Helen let her husband go. The day was August 5, 2002. After reaching the office, he found those secret paperwork and learned about the murder contract that was plotted against him by the culprits. However, he didn't learn the process of murdering in that murder contract. That's why that day he immediately got out of the office and tried to drive back home as soon as possible. But because of some severe health sickness, he lost control of the car and crashed his car into a wall. In search of that devastating sound in the neighborhood, his wife, Helen, found out his husband was badly wounded inside their own car. Right away, she brought Jack into a hospital on that heavy rainy night. Jack was immediately taken to the ICU. Doctors started operating Jack's critical condition immediately. During the operation, Helen was sitting on a bench inside the hospital just outside of the ICU. While sitting there in a terrified and tense voice, she was constantly babbling. Please save my husband this time. I confess for the sins he committed. I have seen in my childhood what has happened to my mother. I don't want my husband's destiny to come out like the way my mother's destiny was burnt to ashes because of the sins she committed. I love him so much. Please don't take him away from me. While the operation was going on, the eldest son of Jack and Helen told their attorney about this incident. The attorney suspected something about this car accident, so he told the police to investigate the accident. After the investigation, it was found that some sort of strong chemicals were used inside Jack's car to make Jack senseless. Then further investigation for police became much easier when Jack told them about that murder contract he found. Those culprits were arrested and the horror of those bank policies were brought out in the light. Everybody protested against those policies and eliminated them completely. That's how Jack dealt with the red fruits he achieved with his foolish worshipping of evil, and then kept following the path of goodness and greatness for achieving blue fruits in life.